Take it away, champ.
Oh, hey everybody! This is Terrible Tim Witherspoon, former two-time heavyweight champ, along with Bruce Gas, the Bomber. Ooh, now I'm just saying that with Bruce Gas, and we're going to talk about. Tell them what we're going to talk about, Bruce, today.
We're gonna we're gonna talk about probably the most common thing that people are talking about on the internet right now, and that's the welterweight the undisputed welterweight championship fight between Terence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah, I did a couple of podcasts. Everybody talking about that fight. I think the fight should go on. It'd be a shame if it doesn't. The business and the money is, that's crazy. Get them boys in that ring, get the right thing. So everybody, they want to see the fight. The people want to see the fight. Why let that fight go down? Let it go off. Get that money up.
Ridiculous,
I'm
ridiculous.
close
I
to
got some. I got some news on the fight. I was going to wait till we got the show going a little bit.
Oh,
Uh, the ESPN just dropped a little a little gem on the fight. They actually have it penciled in for November 19th in Las Vegas. Is it? Yeah,
mm,
November 19th, and they have they come to agreement with the purses, and they've come to agreement with a rematch clause. But like everything else, brother, until we see a press conference,
okay. So that what was said. They brought that to the table at least, huh?
yeah, they brought it to the table. What's the guy's name from ESPN? I forget his name now, man. Oh
Your
damn,
guess is as good as mine.
because these old minds of ours, they're not as sharp as these young ones anymore. Benson, that's his name, Benson,
Okay.
and he just announced that today that they tentatively agreed on the terms. I guess now boxing. It's not like when you were fighting, man. When you were fighting, they threw a contract in front of you, you signed it, and the fight was on. Now you got pre-terms. You got all kind of lawyers negotiating for all different sizes of the ring, entourage, pay-per-view rights. There's so much going on in boxing now. I just want to see these guys fight.
Yeah, I
You
do
know,
too. I do too. Is a really interesting fight because a lot of people want to see it. Even people in other countries, boxing fans in other country, would
Mhm.
like to see this fight. And I'm like, when they said it was a possible chance that it was gonna go, I was like, nah, that fight gonna go off somewhere. That's too big. That's a big fight, and this during this day and time.
Especially in the welterweight division, the glamour division. We talked about this before. When I first became, I became a boxing fan back in the late '60s, the early '70s. But when I was really in my prime, so to speak, as a fan, I saw Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, probably
Woo!
the greatest 14 rounds of welterweight action, bro. What do you think about that fight? You remember that war?
Yeah. Oh, you remember the fight? You mean?
Oh yeah, oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? That was a really they was really figuring each other out. Jabbing Tommy Hearns was throwing hard punches, trying to take Sugar out. Sugar busy was just figuring out what he was going to do with it with Tommy. That was I like that fight. You see some skills. You see some
And the
skills.
whole world was watching that fight
Sugar
too.
Ray was going to his body really good too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
He
And
was
then
tearing
Hearns came.
everybody up.
It was back and forth action. Sugar Ray was winning the first part of the fight. Then Thomas Hearns came. The slugger turned boxer, and
Yeah.
he had Sugar Ray. I mean, it looked like Sugar Ray Leonard's eye was like the size of a grapefruit. I mean, he did some serious damage. I think he had to have retina surgery after that
Oh
fight.
right. Yeah. I heard
Patch
about
it up.
that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Man,
It was
that's
amazing.
what we want to see. That's what we
I
want to
had the
see, boy.
privilege. I had the privilege of being with Sugar Ray and Tommy Hearns. I was in the West Coast with Tommy in training camp. I was a pro. Had about 13 fights, 14 fights. I was with him. Then I was hanging out with Sugar Ray. That was really good experience. And them dudes rumbled. I watched them fight too. Woo! That was a fight. Then Sugar Ray got him on the. I think it was the last. They fought three times, right?
They fought. No, they fought twice.
Twice.
Twice, and it was 10 years between the fights too. They would have had that rematch, but Sugar Ray retired. They didn't get together till 10 years later. And in the rematch, Thomas Hearns knocked him down twice.
Oh, right. But didn't he stop Tommy?
He stopped Tommy in the first fight. The second fight,
okay.
the rematch was a draw.
Okay.
And Hearns won that fight. I thought he won it. Sugar Ray Leonard looked good in the fight, but I thought Hearns dominated, had 2 knockdowns. And Sugar Ray even said, he beat me. He admitted it.
I remember when Tommy dropped him in them fights. Yeah, that was a good fight also. I liked the first one though. Ooh, they was going at it.
That's what we want to say about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, because that fight's long overdue, bro. I mean,
it is.
It's almost like they're holding that welterweight championship hostage. None of these young guys are getting an opportunity to go for the title.
I think it's going to make people buy tickets now once they announce it.
Well, inactivity. See, the problem I have with it is the last time Spence fought was in April of last year, and this fight's proposed for November. So that's going to be
April of last year?
April of last year, yeah, he fought Ugas, and that was April of 2022. So he's going to have a year and a half inactivity, and he got in the car accident before. I just don't see why these guys are so inactive. I think the fans are forgetting about them. Sugar Ray Leonard, him and Hearns fought on a card 3 months before they had their fight. They were both Sugar Ray fought Ahab Kauli. Thomas Hearns fought a guy named Pablo Baez, and it was a Don King pay-per-view card. It's when they were first coming out with the concept of bringing pay-per-view fights into your living room, and they didn't worry about a loss. Their fight was scheduled for September. They both fought on the same card. I think it was in June, 3 months apart. So everybody knew it was going on. Everybody was they were fans of either Thomas Hearns or Sugar Ray Leonard. With Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, they're just not. They don't have the popularity. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yes.
And they want to make it a big dollar pay-per-view.
I think to people in that era, it might be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we from a different era, but we still want to see that fight. But people that followed along with them is a boomer, a big fight.
It's a huge fight. But see, the thing is, I don't think they're going to get anything more than the hardcore and the casual boxing fans. With Sugar Ray Leonard and with Thomas Hearns,
they got everybody.
They got everybody. My mother, my aunt, the guy next door. People that aren't even boxing fans. They wanted to come and see the welterweight fight because everybody knew the Olympic darling Sugar Ray Leonard, the gold medalist, and Thomas Hearns, the Motor City Cobra, the hitman at the time. He annihilated Pepino Cuevas. Remember that fight?
I saw that fight. Yeah.
Oh.
And Duran too.
Duran was after. And Duran's another great welterweight.
Yes.
Welterweight.
Yeah.
Duran and Leonard, that first fight. Woo! And that's what the welterweight division needs right now. And we have 2 undefeated fighters. They're in their mid-30s. I think Crawford's a little older than Spence, but still, man, there's no turning back. They have to make this fight now.
Yeah. It'd be good for boxing.
It'd be real good for boxing. Now, Roberto Duran, what a fighter he was, man. You met Roberto Duran several times, haven't you?
Yeah, I hung out with him, man. At different fights, I seen him. He called me Poon. He called me
Poon.
Joe Frazier.
I know.
Joe Frazier called me Wooder, and Roberto Duran called me Poon. I must be special, huh?
Oh, bro. Well, hey, man. How many guys out there have won the WBA and the WBC heavyweight championship of the world when they really meant something, bro.
You
I
mean
mean,
the
dude,
okay? Yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty
it
tough.
was it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. But this welterweight fight, man, I don't get it. They're gonna make life-changing money. I don't know. I don't know what the purses they agreed to on. I'm sure we're gonna find that out in the next few days. If the way social media is. But man, I'm gonna say 25 million a piece guaranteed. It's got to be in that neighborhood. $25 million
Yeah.
a piece plus the pay-per-view. But do you think this fight is a big fight? You think there's any interest overseas, worldwide?
And not as like America, there probably is with the boxing family, with the boxing people. Some of them would like a lot of them would like to watch it, but not like over here. Just my opinion. That's just my opinion, because they got their own greats, their welterweights over there. They following them, they high up on them. We should call him son lost his fight. Eubank's son lost his fight. He was up and coming. It ain't over. I think he just needs some training. There's some good welterweights over there, but I'm sure they know about Crawford and Spence. They definitely do. But over here is much more. They're going to go at this fight. They want it.
Well, there's some hot welterweights out there. We got Virgil Ortiz. We got Philadelphia's own Jaron Boots Ennis.
Ooh, the Boots Ennis.
The Boots. Hey, I just dropped the link in the chat because the dude who was going to come on here with us, I think it's Mui Boren. I'm sorry, bro. I'm bad pronouncing names.
Yeah, that's him. I just called him on the phone. Yeah. All his roadies are going to try to come in, Bruce. All his roadies are going to be.
Well, you got the power, bro. You don't have to let them in. They can sit in the back.
I'm gonna let them all in.
Well, we can let them in. You do what you want. I mean, me and Tim were going to talk. We're going to talk old war stories over here. We're waiting for
guests. Be on here. How long are we going to be on here?
Till 3:00 in the morning. So pack a lunch. How should I make a big pot of black coffee, bro? We're going to be on for a while.
My computer.
No. We're waiting for our guest to come on.
I know.
And he couldn't get in. Obviously, having some problems.
Yeah, they're up. He's up. I guess wherever he's at, Illinois. They're having a massive blizzard, and there's connection problems. And he tried to get on. He says the internet connection's awful.
Shania, when you get a chance, can you give me one of them ice things?
No. This is the craziest year. It was 70 degrees last week.
I was 240 when I left the gym today. My shoulder hurt and back hurt. That's why I'm hurting.
There's 4 people in here. We can say who we looking to fight, champ.
What? Oh, exhibition.
Yep.
I don't care.
You already know. You already said it. You told me, unless you don't want to put it out into the public, who we talked to about fighting.
Jake Paul.
No.
You'd kill him.
Let's is a hint to everybody. Tim, you go in the nursing home. You keep forgetting.
Get my ice, and I what?
You go in the nursing home if you keep forgetting. Your man. Let's go, champ.
Oh no.
Well, they don't know. That's
no. He was gonna get back with me. He was gonna get back with me. Yeah, he's gonna get back with me.
Yeah,
that was like 2 months ago.
Bag him, hit me going. Okay, let's go, champ. Let's go, champ. Pop, pop.
I gotta put this little ice thing here.
Yeah, I beat up him, everybody. That's what happened. He tried to mess with me. He couldn't get through my guard. He'd hit me and it hurt his arm.
He didn't even put the guard up. He didn't even put it in. He was behind my hair.
I heard he's trying to give somebody that Philadelphia shoulder roll, and they broke his shoulder with a big right hand, man.
Blondes, lemons, my hair.
No, we can get in trouble for that. We got to be.
I know.
Politically correct over here. Politically correct. But yeah, we got that one guy Bones is in here. Salute to you, my brother. Moe Boring. Moe Boring 74. Shout out to you, man. Is that the dude who's trying to come on here with us?
Yeah, that's the guy. Moy boring. He says he's having an awful time with internet.
Oh, because
where's he living?
I think
Because I
you
know
know
the
what
Midwest.
I forgot, man. Is it Buffalo? Maybe it was Buffalo, something like that.
They get pretty bombed up there.
It's rough up in Buffalo when it comes to snow. Woo.
Everybody's leaving. We got 2 people in here. Thanks for the 2 people staying.
We appreciate it. We can shoot some good war stories over here. But anyway, man, we're talking about this fight, and we're gonna have our guest on here, and we're gonna say, is it worth spending all the money and all this publicity? Is this fight gonna happen? You know, it looks like it might happen, but I'm not gonna get excited. I'm not gonna get excited about this until I see a press conference, and even then, I want to see the arena where they're gonna have it. Let's get this fight happening. It's almost like boring to talk about because we've been talking about this fight for a long time.
But Champ, why do you think they're dragging it out? What's going on with these 2? Why do you think they're dragging this out?
That's unusual because I never experienced something like this. I seen guys hold out, but what for? Is opportunity to make money? Why can't they make the money? This is not the first time stuff like this happened, but this is too much to me,
What do you think of the long-term effects are going to be on boxing when people play games like this and waste
that's
time?
That's just you talking about what you think people will start copying?
Yeah, I mean this whole thing, these 2 guys playing games, you think it damages the long-term appeal of the sport?
Not of the sport, maybe that fight.
Do you think stuff like this, if they keep doing it, will have a dramatic impact on boxing? Oh, here we go. Our man is here.
Boxing
Here he is. We've got him.
Yo.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you.
It was a storm. It was a storm.
Brian putting a name with the face, and
that's it.
Bruce Gas. What's your name, brother? I hate to mispronounce it.
Just call me Dion. Just call me Dion.
Dion.
Dion, okay. Give a shout out to your channel. What's your channel to everybody? To the 3 people watching.
Hey, you get a lot, the internet, you get a lot of people watching.
Louis Baran 74.
That's the name of your channel?
Yep.
All right. Remember that, everybody. All right, guys, you go do your thing. I'm going to leave and go in the background.
Dion, welcome, bro. Me and Tim, we shoot boxing all the time, brother. It's good to have you on here. What did you want to talk about, my man?
Okay. We got echo. Let me see. Okay, there you go. That's the echo. Okay, got it.
All right.
All right.
You got it.
So you guys were talking about Crawford versus Spence earlier. And I had some thoughts about that I wanted to share. I know I had mentioned this to you, Brian, and I kind of voiced it to Tim Witherspoon. But the way I've always looked at it is, this potential fight. You have 2 fighters who, in my opinion, and just let me know if you guys agree with this. You have 2 fighters that are overpaid. So just to give you some statistics, guys. Errol Spence, he made $5 million for the Ugas fight. Ooh. He made $5 million for the Ugas fight. He made $2 million plus pay-per-view shares for Sean Porter, so that's about $5 million. Spence made $2 million plus pay-per-view shares for Danny Garcia, so that's probably about $5 million. Spence made $3 million plus pay-per-view shares versus Mikey Garcia, so that's about $5 million. So from the sounds of things, Heyman uses the pay-per-view revenue to further pay fighters, ridiculous amounts of money. So so now you look at Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford made $6 million against Sean Porter. He made $5 million against Kell Brook. I think it was $5.5 million against Kell Brook. He made $4 million against Kavalauskas, Mean Machine, and he made $5.5 million against Amir Khan. And so I know Bob Arum had said years ago that Al Heyman overpays the fighters. He pays the fighters too much. So when you look at a fight like this, how much do you pay the guys? Like how much would they look at as substantial pay for both of them to where they'll say, okay, I'll take the fight?
Well, all this stuff that's going on can probably enhance the people that want to watch it and make it worth more. But you know, all the stuff that's going on right now is causing maybe the price to go up a little bit. How much are they making for the fight?
So I know that initially. So one of the reasons why Terence Crawford one of the reasons he cited why he walked away from the Spence fight that was supposed to have taken place, I believe, in like October, it was supposed to have been November 9th, I believe. And the reason why he stated that he walked away from it was that he didn't get any guarantees. So now there was no guarantees for either fighter. So not only was Crawford not getting any guarantees, but Spence wasn't getting any guarantees either. So it looks like they were talking about making money off the back end. And
yeah, the PBC is very synonymous with that back end money. You know, hey, the business of boxing, you know, we talk about that a lot. It's totally changed from back in the day. You know, Tim and I, we're both in our 60s, and we've come from the generation where it was pretty easy to sign a contract and get a fight going. Right now, there are so many bean counters involved in boxing. People like us, we know what these fighters are making. Years ago, we didn't care about the purses. You know, we just wanted to see the fighters there. But now there's more debates going on what they're worth, who the A side is, you know, who should be getting the lion's share. It's crazy. I think there's just too much outside involvement, and you know, people can't come to agreements. From what I understand, though, from what Michael Benson put out just recently, it's pretty much come down to the monetary terms have been agreed on, the rematch clause is agreed on, and it's real close. They said within a few days. The date is the 19th of November, and I don't know. I'm hoping this fight gets made. I don't see any obstacle. I don't see any roadblock. We were talking before, and the welterweight division, as glamorous as it is, we've seen in my lifetime. We were just talking about Leonard and Thomas Hearns, but beyond that, we saw Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad get made. We saw Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, they're naturals, man. They're what boxing wants. I don't think PBC, Top Rank, I don't think any of them care what the fans want to see anymore. That's the way I look at it.
That's bad.
I have a couple of questions. I have a couple of questions for you guys, and so I have my own theory, but but let me know what you think of this. So one of the reasons why Mayweather versus Pacquiao was able to get made, De La Hoya versus Trinidad, one of the reasons why that fight was able to get made, I mean, just as examples, is that those fights was, even though, you know how most promoters, they want in-house money. And so typically what they try to do is they try to get fighters that are within their own promotion, because Bob Arum did that a lot with Pacquiao versus Marquez, Pacquiao versus Bradley, Pacquiao versus Barrera, Pacquiao versus Morales. He was already promoting those guys, and so it was the in-house money that he was able to make. The reason why De La Hoya Mayweather, De La Hoya Trinidad, Mayweather Pacquiao, the reason why those fights were able to get made was because the promoters saw that fight was so lucrative that, like, we got to make this fight happen because I'm going to make a lot of money from this fight. I think the big problem with Spence versus Crawford is that the fight isn't as big as people believe it's going to be, because
that's what I was thinking.
in my opinion, De La Hoya versus Trinidad, De La Hoya was an Olympic gold medalist. This was when Olympic boxing was on NBC, and America actually had really good teams all the way up until about 1996. They had extremely good teams and like notable teams. And it's like now, like Spence, the 2012 team wasn't that well known, and those guys didn't do too good. And I think Deontay Wilder may have been. I think Deontay Wilder, his 2008 bronze, I believe that was the last medal we got. So, you know, these fighters, they're not the household names and the global stars that they want to put themselves off to be. So of course the media is going to say it. You know, of course PBC's media, you know, what Kate Abdul, of course she's going to say, you know, like Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, you know, these are global stars. Of course, Timothy Bradley and Max Kellerman, of course, they're going to say it. But how is Terence Crawford a global star and Terence Crawford can't sell fights outside of Omaha, Nebraska? You know, how?
Well, you know whose fault that is. That's the inactivity, because we have short attention spans. Where AFDC, AC, whatever it may be, if we don't see these fighters on a regular basis, like you're talking about the Olympics, 1976, there was only one champion from America in 1976. You know who that was?
Was it Leon Spinks?
It was Muhammad Ali. Leon Spinks was on the Olympic team that year.
Talk about the 76 Olympic team.
The 76 Olympics. Sugar Ray Leonard. That was Sugar Ray Leonard. That was the Spinks brothers.
Yeah.
Right now I can't.
Davis wasn't on
it. No. Davis was 72. But anyway, man, that was all these gold medalists that came out of that Olympic. And they were all featured right away. ABC TV they featured Sugar Ray Leonard was the darling, was the America's sweetheart, and of course they had to have the nemesis Roberto Duran, his first nemesis. And right then again, going back to what you're speaking of, Don King had Roberto Duran, Bob Arum had Sugar Ray Leonard, the Devil and God, and they got together, bro. They went to bed, and because it was everybody made money. It was money for everybody. But now I think everybody there's too many people, there's too many attorneys, too many people that don't trust other people. And it's just so hard to make these fights now. And plus, like you were saying before, I think the fighters think they're worth more than they are. They're not worth what Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns and Roberto Duran were, because those guys transcended hardcore boxing. They were on, they were superstars, athletes. Everybody knew them. Everybody wanted to see the welterweight title unified. They wanted to see Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns. How many people, aside from the hardcore boxing fans, want to see Bud Crawford and Errol Spence? How many people even know who they are, bro? You know?
Yeah, not as many. You know, again, like I said, not to me, not as many as people want. You know, as I guess their people really want to admit to. It's like, you know, again, you know, you were talking about Leon Spinks, Michael Spinks, Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, like I look at Sugar Ray Leonard, man. Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, but you know, particularly, you know, when you talk about like you talk about like, you know, like you said, the welterweight Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns,
Benitez,
Roberto Duran, Wilfredo Benitez. When you look at those guys, you know, like Roberto Duran, not only did he have an entire country, like today you gotta have like people like Pacquiao and people like Marquez. Those guys had entire countries backing them, and what they were trying to do with Spence and Crawford. I know Bob Arum. I think he was trying to make Crawford versus Pacquiao. And one of them didn't want the fight, and that fight never came into fruition. But then when Spence had the Pacquiao fight, he ruptured his he injured his retina during sparring, had to get surgery and couldn't fight Pacquiao. And so that fight would have potentially been Spence's breakthrough fight, where he would have became, because you need a pay-per-view star to become a pay-per-view star. And when you look at Crawford and Spence, neither one of them have that. Crawford in his 4 pay-per-views, Crawford averages like 105 pay-per-view buys per event. And then Spence averages about 300. And from our metrics traditionally, 300 pay-per-views and 105 pay-per-views, that's an epic failure. That's not considered a successful pay-per-view. Like we've always looked at successful pay-per-views as 1 million, even 800,000. I remember when Pacquiao versus Bradley, their fight only got 750,000 pay-per-view buys, and Bob Arum was disappointed. He was disappointed. And so, again, with Spence versus Crawford, who's, like there was Tim Smith who works for PBC, and he was even talking about how he feared that, that people were going to pirate the fight and steal it.
Who's Tim Smith?
Hey, let me shout out Danger, who's in here, man. Sean T's in here. Marion G's in here. We appreciate you cats stopping in here, man. Otherwise, we'd be talking to ourselves. We got my boy Dion in here from My Bar in 74 Boxing, and I'm honored to be with the 2-time heavyweight champ of the world, Tim Witherspoon. Absolutely. We're talking about the welterweights over here, man. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I wanted to get these guys before I forget, bro. Go ahead, Dion. Continue, my brother.
Shout outs in.
So looking back, so I'm give you guys a little bit of history. So the first thing is that Bob Arum said, he said in 2019, 2020, and 2021, he said Terence. So before Terence Crawford left him, he said Terence Crawford is not a pay-per-view star. So, his own promoter didn't believe in him, to be, and so if this fight was as lucrative, if it was lucrative, I would have thought of all people who would have jumped on that opportunity right away to make that fight happen would have been Bob Arum.
For sure. He said it cost him a mansion in Beverly Hills when he lost on Bud Crawford. Bob Arum is a shrewd businessman. Bob Arum is probably one of the smartest minds in boxing. He goes back, and him and Don King would go tooth and nail. But Bob Arum, he started off as an attorney for John F. Kennedy, and he was a water boy. He was a water bucket man. He worked his way up with Top Rank, and him and Ali were in charge of the original Top Rank, Muhammad Ali Promotions, and then all kind of dirty backroom dealings going on. Some people really don't like Bob Arum. Personally, I think Bob Arum has done great things for boxing. But once again, man, we're talking about one of somebody that in my mind, I think Bob Arum, he's 91 years old right now. He could put on cards. He's got millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't understand why he doesn't want to go out with a bang. Throw these great cards. Pay these fighters. I mean, who's he going to leave it to? I can't. Scott LeBeau.
A whole bunch of bangs.
Todd DeBuff.
Yeah,
Todd LeBeau, whatever his name is.
Bruce, he had a whole bunch of bangs.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, this fight could be a legacy fight, not only for boxing, but for Bob Arum too. I mean, I know Bob Arum's not involved with the promotion now, but he's got the dough. I mean, you never know. You never know in boxing. Bitter enemies can be, they can be sleeping in bed with each other the next night. And Don King and Bob Arum were the perfect example. But as far as the popularity, because nobody knows who they are. That's the thing, man. Nobody outside the boxing, YouTube, aside from YouTube. I go down the street tomorrow and I'll tell these guys, hey, man, I was on with the champ last night, man. this dude Dion came on here. We had a good boxing talk. We were talking about Terence Crawford and Bud. We were talking about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and they're gonna look at me like, who?
Oh, he
Yeah.
right. That happened to me too. Oh, come to think of it, yep. That happened to me too.
But if it was 30 years ago, and we were talking about Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns, everybody would know. That's the problem. These guys can't expect to make the same money, especially 2023 money, as opposed to 1980 money, because Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, I think it was something like 14 million and 9 million respectively. And if I asked Alexa how much that is in today's money, I'm sure it's triple what it was from 1980. So, but once again, where's it going to come from? Who's going to shell out this money? You just talking about pirating pay-per-views, bro. It's so all you have to do is Google. You want to watch the free Floyd Mayweather. You want to watch Floyd Mayweather for free. Google will tell you where to go. They'll put you to Front Row Sports or one of these one of these supposedly pirating stations. They come in for 4G. That's just as good as you paid for it. Everybody with half a brain on the internet they're not going to pay $80 for a fight. The two fighters that they've never even seen before, and they got the undercards that suck. I mean, pay-per-view is dying. It really is, man. I don't know anybody who pays for fights anymore. And I hang around with a few hardcore boxing fans, man. It's hard to do.
I got a question for the champ. So do you think these boxers today are entitled? Do you think that do you think they get paid too much, and because they get paid so much, they don't want to fight anybody anymore?
That's kind of like some of it, but boxing to me doesn't have a structure. With a structure in a way. What I'm trying to say is, like, when a boxer retires, they have stuff waiting for them. When the boxer's currently fighting, there's something they should structure so it would be more. There'll be more. Let me see if it's right. They'll be more like motivated and stuff like that. Because lately, a lot of things have really been motivated, like nice to watch, and some of the fights are good. But what I'm saying, that boxing itself have to do something about what we're doing, because look, we can't sell tickets for certain fights, so we got to do some type of rebuilding, so fights like this can take off and go off. So my thing is, back in the day, everybody fought, but a lot of things were structured. Sugar Ray was in the Olympics. He won the gold medal. He came home. The business part of it was broadcasted. I don't see them getting broadcasted. Like, what kind of big accomplishment did they make before they got this far? Were they gold medal winners or something, or things like that? So that has a lot to do with the whole structure. So they say boxing is going down, then it went up, and this is just a result of the fights not going off. Is just a result of what I'm talking about, trying to build up to certain things. And a lot of fans today are not getting the fights that they really want to see. That's just my opinion.
So I'm asking you guys another question, and let me know what you think about this. So HBO left the boxing business, and so when HBO left, it's become like the Wild Wild West for networks. So it's like so what you have so right now you have Premier Boxing Champions, and so Al Heyman, when he had Premier Boxing Champions, he got network deals with CBS, NBC, ESPN, Fox, FX, and Showtime. What happened was that Bob Arum took him to court. It was a frivolous lawsuit, and Al Heyman paid him like a settlement, and Bob Arum ended up getting ESPN. So Al Heyman parted ways with ESPN, and then with those networks, of course, with network television, you got to perform. So because Premier Boxing Champions didn't perform like the networks wanted it to. Like PBC didn't last that long on the networks. So now Al Heyman just pretty much has Showtime and Fox pay-per-view. And so what happened? So after that, you got DAZN, you have Showtime, you have ESPN, and now there's like BOK Prime. So now all of these different streaming services, they need content. They need boxing content. And so in order for them to get boxing content, they're signing promoters as well as fighters to their streaming services for, with these multi-million-dollar deals. Triple G had got, I think it was a 6-fight deal where he was getting paid like $16-17 million a fight. And the only person Triple G actually fought that was notable out of that 6-fight deal was Canelo. So he had fought this guy named Steve Rose, who was a Canadian journeyman fighter that nobody heard of. He fought this guy named Sermeta. No one ever heard of Sermeta. He fought Ryota Murata, which is a good fighter, but it was that a $15 million fight. And then
Derevchenko was his best fight, and that was,
yeah, Derevchenko, yep. And so then you had Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn had got $1 billion worth of revenue, he got $1 billion budget from DAZN, and DAZN had just reported that they basically they were like in the hole, I think like $4 billion, something like that, where they lost $4 billion, and so a lot of that may have had to do with the boxing. And then you had I remember DAZN had offered Deontay Wilder a 3-fight deal that was worth $125 million, where Deontay Wilder turned it down and ended up going to Showtime. And then remember Canelo, when he initially signed with DAZN, I don't think he still has the same deal, but when he initially signed with DAZN offered him a 10-fight deal worth $365 million. And so you have these, and so what happened was that when Canelo wasn't fighting anybody, DAZN was like, hold up, look, we need you to fight somebody if you expect for us to pay you, $20, almost $30 million a fight. And so they ended up restructuring their contract with him. But you have these streaming services, and remember, Terence Crawford, BOK Prime, who did he fight? He fought David Evanesian. No one ever heard of David Evanesian. Only the hardcore boxing fans knew who David Evanesian was. And so you have these fighters, that these streaming services, and even these promoters, they're signing them, paying them all of this money, and like the fighters, like, because they're getting paid so much money, there's no incentive for them to fight anybody. So
makes
it's
sense.
Yeah, it's like even Gervonta Tank Davis. Like Gervonta Tank Davis, he fought this dude named Garcia. No one ever heard of him. He fought Rolly Romero, and he got paid a lot of money to fight those guys. And those, and those guys were not only not on his level, but these guys, they weren't even considered like legitimate contenders. And so,
well, who has Tank? Now you're bringing up an interesting subject. Let me shout out Charles D, who's in here, man. James Richardson, Andrew Charles, man, and Sean T, bro. Thank you, cats, for coming in here, man. We're talking boxing. Tank Davis. Now he's got a proposed fight with Ryan Garcia. That's a huge fight. Everybody wants to see that fight. There's going to be internet wars because of that fight. People have serious commitments. Some people back Tank to the limit. Some people go with Ryan. That's going to be a great fight. But in reality, who has Tank really fought, and then who has Ryan Garcia fought? They're going to want big money. This is a big pay-per-view. I think it's already signed already now. Isn't this fight pretty much a go?
Yeah, it is.
Is this going to be another fight? Because Tank sells live gates, but pay-per-views, mediocre. Like I said, pay-per-view is a dying industry. I think for these fighters to demand the dollars you're talking, because I don't know, I don't know if those figures are correct or not, because I don't follow how much a fighter makes. I look at generally once in a while, but you seem to be right in their pockets, as they say, bro. Now, how can these guys expect to make that kind of money when then nobody's going to buy these pay-per-views? They have to sell 1 million pay-per-views to pay them like $5 million a piece for them to make break even, for it to be a money-making fight. Why isn't it promoted more? Even like Ryan Garcia, he's got the Instagram fans, and he's got a contract, but really, aside from that, what have these guys done in boxing to deserve such lofty status? Who has Tank Davis even for? Mario Barrios? Come on.
Yeah, and so what I think, and I think Spence and Crawford should do the same thing. First of all, and the champ, Mr. Tim Witherspoon, he can probably vouch for this. But when you really, really wanted to fight someone, Tim,
yeah,
what would you do if after that person? Like, let's say you wanted to fight like Burt Cooper, or you wanted to fight like Michael Dokes or something.
Yeah,
Michael Dokes, Burt Cooper, they got through fighting, and so now like someone like Larry Merchant is interviewing them. What would you do? What would you do after that?
Oh, after them two fights?
Yeah. You would walk in the ring and call them out, wouldn't you?
Well, okay. Oh, yeah, you have to have some type of plan. Yeah, Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. What you waiting for? Let's get it on.
Yeah, you would attend the fight, and you would go in the ring after that. He was like, hey, I'm the number one contender. This dude been ducking me for the last 2 years. I'm the best. I'm the number one guy, and so like, let's get it on. What do you say? What do you say, Don King? Why don't you sign me and this dude up so we can fight? So this dude can stop ducking me, so I can show everybody what I'm about. And then boxers would also, today you got so much stuff, man. That works in boxers' favors. You have all of these different shows that they can go on. All these different talk shows, all these different morning shows, especially in this hip hop generation. You got the Breakfast Club. You got a whole bunch of things. Sway in the Morning. You have a whole bunch of things that you can go to, and you can talk. It's like so yeah, me and Crawford, we're supposed to be fighting. November 19th. It's going to be on pay-per-view. It's going to be in Las Vegas, and you get your tickets this way, and and so you promote the fight.
It's much easier.
Yeah. And so that's marketing. And it's like these guys don't want to do that today. They just want, they say, yeah, the Spence versus Garcia fight is made, or the Crawford versus Khan fight is made, and this is where the fight's going to be. And they're not doing anything to promote the fight.
Well, I'll tell you that's the fault of the fighters. Like, you just asked Tim if Tim wanted to fight Michael Dokes or whoever back in the day, like Sugar Ray Leonard, he'd be on the Tonight Show. He'd be on Oprah. People would know who these fucking guys are because they would promote themselves. Sugar Ray was a self-promoter. He had that smile that would melt the room. I mean, he had Howard Cosell as a mouthpiece. And it was, we wanted to see these guys. They were doing Coca-Cola commercials. Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard and their kids. They did a 7-Up commercial. We don't. Yep. Do we see anything?
They had a lot to do with his management and stuff doing that Coca-Cola and all that.
That doesn't happen anymore, bro.
Oh, right.
What boxer you notice promoting McDonald's or Coke or whatever? Bro, nobody cares about boxers anymore because they're forgotten, because they're not active enough. They're not getting coverage enough. It's only YouTube. It's only hardcore guys like us. Aside from that, man, nobody cares about seeing the welterweight title unified because they don't know who. These fighters, they try to save that O, right? The valuable O. We got a friend
Jake
of ours,
Paul. Jake Paul.
Marlon Starling, a great
Jake
welterweight,
Paul.
multi-champion, and Donald Curry. They were both undefeated. They were both. Neither one of them had a title. They were both. One was an NABF, one was a USBA. I think it was back in 1982, maybe. But anyway, they fought each other. Curry took Starling's but neither one of them lost anything because of that. They both went on to win belts in different divisions, world championships. Yeah. And even even Sugar Ray Leonard, he lost to Duran early in the career. That didn't stop him. These guys today, they're afraid to mix it up with each other.
I agree.
Because that if you get that L, like look at Timmy. Timmy fought Larry Holmes undefeated in his 13th fight, bro. He got an L, but that didn't cost him anything. That made him a star. Everybody knew him. It helped you, bro. Why don't these fighters today realize that? Fight the best. Steel sharpens steel. Iron sharpens iron. Don't David Aberdeen. I mean, I can't blame Bud Crawford for fighting David Aberdeen. The guy's got to put food on his table. But why doesn't Virgil Ortiz get in that mix? Why doesn't Jaron Boots Ennis get in that mix? Why don't these guys test each other? If they catch an L, hey man, the way boxing should be, and within a year you should have another title shot. You should fight I mean, dude, it's a whole different ball game.
Don't the commission makes mandatory? Don't the commissions make mandatories?
Yeah, we hear mandatory. They don't honor the mandatories.
Oh God.
So typically what happens is that the organizations, they order fights, and I mean if that fighter and that promoter think that the fight's worth it. So like for instance, I know a few years ago when Deontay Wilder was WBC champ, Dillian White was claiming that he was Deontay Wilder's mandatory, but he wasn't. He was just ranked number 1. So the WBC was like, well, if you really want to fight Deontay Wilder, we'll order a fight against you and Luis Ortiz, and the winner becomes Deontay Wilder's mandatory. And so Dillian White didn't take the fight. He didn't take the fight against Luis Ortiz. And I think Luis Ortiz ended up beating someone in a title eliminator, and he ended up getting a second Wilder fight. But he ended up getting a second fight against Deontay Wilder. But yeah, there's been numerous times where the WBC has ordered fights, and it's up to the promoter and to that fighter on whether or not they want to take it. I remember the IBF. I think the IBF had ordered Kabrat Pulev versus Dillian White, and Dillian White didn't want the fight.
When I was fighting, if they ordered it, you had to fight.
You had to.
Was somebody taking money or something? Is somebody getting money?
It confuses the hell out of me too. You just said the number 1 contender is not necessarily the mandatory challenger. Isn't that like an oxymoron, bro? Isn't that ridiculous?
It is. So also, you know what else I don't like? Another thing I don't like about boxing is about what's going on in boxing is that you have you have like the WBA like intercontinental belt, you have the WBA interim belt, then you have the WBA regular belt, then you have the WBA super belt, and so it's like the WBA orders these fights, and a person, it's like, so who am I supposed to fight? Do I fight the interim champion? Do I fight the regular champion, or do I fight the super champion? And so it's and then the WBC has like, they have like a WBC, I think, international belt or whatever. But then years ago, I think in 2010, the WBC silver was supposed to have taken place of the WBC interim.
Let me get 5 seconds now.
Yes, sir.
When I was fighting, what they did when they knew this up and coming guy was going to definitely get a title shot, or he was capable of winning the title, they would give him a small belt like the NABF or the North American, just to pacify them. you know, just a past one, because they're going to get that next shot is going to be the big one. Now you say nowadays they got this belt and that belt and that belt. Right,
Well,
but they didn't do that when I was fighting. What they did, they knew I was getting ready to go for the title. They gave me a smaller belt and then guaranteed me the next shot, maybe the next shot. By giving me the small belt, I had the North American, then I fought for the title after that. But now they got like, what, 3 or 4 belts, right?
And every one of those belts is a sanctioning fee. That's the thing you can't forget.
That's not right. That's not right.
That's not right at all, man.
That's not right.
You know, and if you have, who wants to become a unified champion or an undisputed champion, you're going to have to pay 4 sanctioning fees every time you defend your title. I mean, dude, I wouldn't want the belt.
It's
if,
like
if,
that
if,
now.
If they want 8% on this one, 3% on here, I don't know what they're getting now, but man, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't.
Do you remember when Carlos Baldomir? Remember when Zab Judah beat Corey Spinks to become undisputed welterweight champion?
Okay.
And Zab Judah fought Carlos Baldomir and lost to Carlos Baldomir. Carlos Baldomir could not become undisputed because the WBA and the IBF they each wanted $100,000 in sanctioning fees, and Baldomir only made $100,000 for the fight, and so the IBF ended up, they told Zab Judah, they said, hey, you can keep the IBF belt. So Zab Judah kept the IBF belt, and he ended up losing it to Mayweather. And then the WBA belt, I think, what was his name? Luis Collazo ended up becoming the WBA champion. He ended up winning the vacant WBA belt. And then Mayweather beat Baldomir, and he became the lineal champion and the WBC champion, and he vacated the IBF. You know, because and so it was it's crazy how they do that with these sanctioning fees.
Money walks and money talks.
Yeah, it will make, like, to me, it will make, like, I would think like that if you could potentially be paying out like $400,000, $400,000 of your money in sanctioning fees just to become undisputed, potentially, depending on how much you're making in that fight. Is it even worth it to become undisputed?
I think I said that.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
That's something.
Because I know
now, Tim, you held your heavyweight championship. You had the WBA and the WBC.
And
what were the exactly? What were the sanctioning fees different, or were they similar? Do you remember?
That's a good question.
No, the sanctioning fee. What they do? They just pay a sanctioning fee. I don't know how much it was.
Yeah, they just blew that right by you. The promoter just took that right off the top.
Yeah,
you didn't know. You never got to see if the WBC. I think one of them is 3%, and the other one I heard is as high as 8%. And I was just kind of wondering because this boxing is probably the only sport where there are so many unregulated rules, and these federations, they change them to go along. They change them to accommodate themselves. It's crazy. It's not like all these belts, all these facts and figures, all these splintered titles. To me, it's ruining boxing. It's tearing boxing down. It's making it a sideshow. And we just had some dudes on here the other night. Those 2 guys that were on here. They said, one of them said that boxing has to be, and it's got to do a do-over. Says it's got to be broken down. It's got to be start from square one, basically, because it's a mess up there, man. It really is.
Yeah. I got a question for the champ. So one of my friends on here, Chuck D, he was talking about step aside money. Have you ever been offered money to step aside so that two guys can fight? And how often did that happen? I mean, was that a common occurrence when you were fighting?
Step aside money was practical. I mean, it wasn't unusual when I was fighting. Step aside. I heard it happened before. Nobody paid me they didn't pay me to step aside. but I heard it frequently when I was boxing. You know, step aside money with lower weights and maybe the heavyweights. But what step aside money. They give you the money so they can make the other fight because they're going to make more money on the other fight. So, or whatever strategy they had, they would pay this boxer to step aside. Now, if the money was right, I'll step aside. I would step aside. But yes, I heard that before a whole lot.
Bruce, what do you think about what? So another thing someone mentioned about the sanctioning bodies. Do you think it's too many sanctioning bodies?
Well, absolutely. When I first got into boxing, there were only two sanctioning bodies, WBA and WBC.
Yep.
The IBF, that came about because Bob Arum was having a rift with the WBA, and the United States WBA representative, his name was Bob Lee. He splintered off, and they formed the IBF, and it was looked on as a bastard group. Some of the champions, they didn't even want an IBF belt. They had. Go ahead, Tim.
Real quick, I thought I heard something else, and I've been hearing it a lot. This is what I found out real quick. Don King was giving Larry Holmes Young Turks. I was one called the truth, and they almost beat him. He was trying to make Rocky Marciano's record, and Don King was putting Young Turks up there. And so I heard that Larry Holmes went to Bob Lee, and they created the IBF because of that. This is what I heard. Don King was giving Larry Ho. I beat up on Larry. Who else? They gave him a hard fight, and Larry wanted to get Rocky Marciano's record. So he went to Bob Lee, and they created. This is what I heard.
Larry was the first IBF heavyweight champion.
Yeah, but this
he didn't beat anybody for it. They gave him that belt. The IBF gave Larry that belt to legitimize themselves because they were a fledgling operation. People weren't taking it seriously. I remember Tyrone Crowley and Charlie Brown. Butterfly and White Lightning. They didn't want the fight because it was an IBF. Tyrone had the IBF title, and Charlie Brown didn't want. He wanted to go for a WBA or WBA.
Choo Brown.
Yeah,
I love that dude, man.
But my point is right now.
Okay.
You were asking me if there are too many about the federations. Way too many. Now the WBO is in there.
Remember Darius Mikashevsky with the WBO?
Yeah.
Listen, real quick. I do believe that they should give that up and coming guy a little belt so they can do business with the other belt. Pamper him a little bit and then give him the title shot. I do believe if he's ready for it, give him a title shot. But if he's not, give him that belt so he could. You know what I'm talking about? Before you get the big shot, they be giving us the small ones. I think that's kind of cool to pacify the boxer that's coming up. Tyson just went straight through though. But they pacify him, then they think like a champion. Then they get the real championship. Like I got the North American, and then they gave me I got the USBA. I got the small one first, and I was like, wow. So that got me ready for the championship, the big belt.
But see, back in those days, Tim, they didn't have any interim belt. They didn't have the gold, the diamond. It was the WBC belt and the USBA belt. The USBA was a very important title back then because you were going to get a title fight if you had that NABF or USBA.
Those were some of the best fights. Those were some of the best fights. Was the USBA? But now everybody's got a belt now. Everybody and their brothers got a and the interim belt, the silver belt. Those are world title belts. They're the interim world heavyweight championship. The WBC silver world.
Diller's fight could have been a top fight. I got him out of there in the first round. He went 10 rounds with Tyson, but that was for the North American, the little belt. But that could have been a WBC or WBA belt fight.
Oh, today it would have been for sure.
It
would have been. Yes, guaranteed. You're so right, man. Because you would have had 2 or 3 belts at the same time. You would have cleaned the division up because let's face it, Tim. You were the man, bro. You were the man for sure back then, man. 85, 86, bro. Nothing better. But today, every week there'd be another belt out there. There's so many titles, man.
I'm confused, really.
You're confused, man. I'm totally confused. Dion, our young brother here, who's got all these.
He know his stuff though.
His head is spinning. Yeah, it's crazy today. Boxing is. You have to have a PhD and a mind that's a lot sharper than mine to follow the business side of boxing today, bro. I just want to see the fights. I just want to see the best fight the best.
Yeah, at first I was one of those people that used to say, like, the business of boxing isn't important, but it's like you do have to study it a little bit, because it's like it helps you to understand better why it helps you to put. I'm the type of person, like, my background is that I investigate stuff, and so I investigate things, especially when it comes to boxing. It's like I put 1 and 2 together. Like, why isn't this fight happening? And so it's like, well, this person is with this network and with this promoter. This network, this person is with this network.
Yeah, I don't want to go through all that.
Yeah, and so there's this cold war between these promotions and between these networks. They don't want to do business with each other, and this is why this fight hasn't happened. And that's another thing I was wanting to ask you guys. Considering that HBO, now that HBO has left, you have the Wild Wild West with networks. Don't you kind of think that since Don King was kind of taken out of power, that you have the Wild Wild West of promoters now? And I think that's been going on for a while now.
Crazy.
It seems like everybody's going crazy. It does seem like everybody's doing what I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's like now it's like you have, remember Golden Boy Promotions, you had Oscar De La Hoya, Richard Schaefer, and then they had got with Al Heyman. Al Heyman had Floyd Mayweather, and then Oscar De La Hoya fell out with Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman. And he not only did he lose, Richard Schaefer, who was part of a multi-billion-dollar. It was UBS Bank, and like Richard Schaefer was like president of UBS Bank.
Yeah, Schaefer's.
And so he lost Richard Schaefer, then he lost Al Heyman, and then he ended up losing guys like Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder, Jamal Charlo, Keith Thurman, Floyd Mayweather. He ended up losing all of those fighters. De La Hoya ended up basically, he went from being promoter of the year to pretty much losing like over 100 fighters, where Al Heyman ended up taking them fighters with him.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's like you have it where these guys are stabbing each other in the back now. You have it where these promoters don't want to work with each other anymore. You had it where Eddie Hearn, who's a UK promoter, this dude had the audacity to think that he was going to come to the United States and take over U.S. boxing. Would Eddie Hearn had ever thought about doing that if Don King was still been in power? No, he wouldn't. He would have never thought of that.
He would have got pistol whipped.
Yeah, Don King was just too big.
All right, everybody. I hate to.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, man. I was gonna close it up, but bro.
Oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No. When you come in here, it's kind of like my dad coming into a party. We're talking the back. It's like, oh shit, man.
Wait, let me say something.
Here we go, man.
Listen, if Eddie Hearns,
I'm only kidding, Brian.
Listen, if Eddie Hearns would have came over because everybody was tired of a lot of the promoters, he probably could have did something over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the guy coming in,
so,
because everything was all crazy over there. So
hey, Danger.
Went through that. So that was my last quote, guys.
Man,
I try to keep the podcast to an hour. Sorry to be the party pooper.
No problem, man.
Hey, again, give a shout out to your channel, Moy
Baran
74. Is that the channel?
Yeah,
give a
Moy
shout
Baran
out to
74. Yep.
Yep. Remember, go over there, everybody. Check it out. Check
I'll tell you,
channel out.
if you could print it in the private chat, I'll put it in the public chat, and that way it'll be out there, and people can come see it because I'm moderator on the channel.
That's right,
Unfortunately,
you got promoted.
I got promoted.
Yo, this was interesting. I hope they can do this. Like to me, boxing has got less interested for me. In the last, I mean, I want to watch it. I don't know where to go. So, okay, tomorrow a big fight is going on. I'm up here like for a whole month. Hey, so and so fighting tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Bruce did it to me before. A couple other people. I'm saying, what? How come? Like in the past, they knew it a month ahead of time. Now it's like tomorrow. Oh, they fighting, and I got to go find somewhere to watch it. That's kind of
serious lack of promotion on these fights. Then if a retired 2-time heavyweight champ doesn't know what's happening in boxing, how's a schmuck like me and my brother Dion supposed to know what's going on in boxing?
Hey, Daryl, thank you for the shout out to the channel. Daryl said we did a great live stream, guys. You did great.
Yeah, thank
Man,
you.
you want to close it out, brother?
Who is that?
Me, little old me.
Or you, and whoever wants to close it out, go right ahead.
I had a good time. That's all I got to say. I'm sharpening my memory skills up. I'm sharpening my boxing skills up by being on these podcasts. And thank you for initiating everything. Wait, how you pronounce the name, man?
Moy Baran 74.
Oh wow, Moy Baran. Yeah, thank you.
Man, I appreciate you inviting me, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
a
do some
privilege.
more.
Thank you.
I told my son, I was like, man, I said, dude, I said, I'm with Terrible Tim Witherspoon, man, 2-time champ. And he was like, what?
You're making me blush. You making me blush.
Man, I told my family, man, I told a whole bunch of people. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
yeah,
They can catch the replay. They can catch the replay for sure, bro. And we do this about once a week, man. So anybody out there, make sure you sub to this channel. Make sure you
hey,
give
I'm
us
gonna get a couple of rounds.
Look at that dude, man. Look at the shape he's in, bro.
Who
What
is
are you?
that? Your son?
Yes, my son. You don't like
What? That's your son?
Yeah.
You look that y'all could be your brother or something. You don't look that old.
Oh, thanks.
He looks like he's eating that Canelo beef. He's looking lean and mean out there,
He
bro.
on that clenbuterol.
Is he a boxer?
Hey, and guess what? His wife is Mexican, so yeah, she probably got some of that Canelo.
Hey. No wonder he's so ripped. All right, man. No drug testing here, though. We're not involved with water or nothing over here.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, we had a great time out here, man. This is Bruce
did.
Cass, Boxing, Jazz, and more. I'm speaking for Tim Witherspoon over here, Big Brian up here, Dion down there, man. Shout out to everybody. We had a great time, man. We'll see you around, man. Salute.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
All right, bye.
All right,
Bye.
see y'all later and see you next time.